Hello friends, August the 25th. Wow. I told you a week ago when I recorded the one about the Jupiter-Saturn cycle, the Jupiter-Saturn square, the first one, which is really a remarkable turning point. I said this would be resetting and rewiring reality, and I was showing you the amazing geometry it shows with the United States chart, with the Declaration of Independence, which I also call the New World chart, because it really has been the moment when a new path was opened toward a uniting of humanity on whole new principles. So you can go back to that recording, but what I just want to say today, the big theme which I saw coming up, which is the chart you're looking at right here, is health and healing is on its way. Very big time. CHIRON is the wounded healer, and HYGIEA is the asteroid goddess about health and well-being. So CHIRON is really taking care that this health and well-being is getting back into position where it should be. I wrote a little thing on my Facebook page. I said this alignment not only comes exact on August 26 at 2045 Aries, which is a very important spot in the zodiac, because it's the beginning of a new hexagram in the overlay of the 64 hexagrams, which is increase, which is when spirit really comes in and pushes for a breakthrough, you could say. It's spirit descending, and the comment in the hexagram, you can look that up. I give you the link below. As always, I give you all the links. To rule is to serve. A sacrifice of the higher element that produces an increase of the lower is called an out and out increase. It indicates a spirit that alone has power to help the world. And it was a historic turning point. There's no question, with RFK Jr. stepping forward from pretty much the opposite side of the political spectrum and joining forces, bringing his prominence, and it is no one else than a Kennedy who could really have done this. Just think of all the history. His uncle, his father, both murdered by the system, as we do know today. And he is truly honoring his uncle and his father's lasting legacy by this sacrifice. That's exactly what it is. RFK is explaining why he is terminating his presidential race. That was just 2 days ago on the 23rd. Actually, really interesting. We had all these waxing squares. I was mentioning we had the waxing square of Jupiter moving away from Uranus, which is the crisis in action in that 20-year cycle. Crisis in action means we're coming out of the 7 year, or it's about 4 to 5 years. Actually, in the Jupiter-Saturn cycle, it's a 20-year cycle, so it's about 1/4 of that. The first section is the coming to realization what the situation really is. It is that moment of contemplation. You're looking at the whole thing, and then you're coming to a place where action has to start being taken. That is the waxing square towards the opposition. That's the next 4 years roughly, and this was initiated on the 19th, in sync with a full moon, in sync with Mercury at its center point, starting a new cycle, a new 4-month cycle. So there were multiple things, and then on top of that, that full moon was exactly within 4 minutes of arc or 3 minutes of arc, the same moon as we have in the Declaration of Independence chart. It was foreseeable that this would be a landmark moment, a real shift in direction, and that's what we have been seeing. Please go back to these recordings where I give you all the aspects and charts which really prove that. So anyway, this is just the starting point. Now let me venture off. So here we have Chiron, and here we have HYGIEA at 2045 Aries, and that is the heliocentric chart. And it came to me, I was contemplating again, the heliocentric is kind of the music which is played, it's the energy which is produced, and then how it manifests, how the dancers react to that music, how they receive it and put it into a manifestation, into a form. That is what the geocentric is. So it's always the heliocentric, that is my understanding, which is really the deal maker, the deal breaker. That's where things are starting. That's why it is such an important place to focus. It changes literally the energy of the sun when the planets align in new ways. And the sun actually, as you know, is the energy we are all feeding on. It takes 8 minutes for the photons, the neutrons, the neutrinos, all the light particles to reach Earth, and each is coded with that particular frequency pattern the sun is emitting right now. So that's why heliocentric is so important. Now this is furthermore a super interesting chart with Saturn here at the 7th house cusp in this global fractal. Means it is a sobering moment of truly realizing where we're at. Orcus on the other side is one of the Kuiper belt objects, also like Pluto, similar to Pluto, deity of the deep, who changes things from deep underneath starting. Orcus is alchemy and transformation at a very profound, deep level, in opposition to Saturn. Pretty exact, you see, within 10 minutes of arc. Actually, it is just a few days later when this was exact. This is a turning point, absolutely, also in this chart, very visible. Interesting also the kind of the direction, the focal point into the above, where we are guided from above. 1111 Gemini. This is within 7 minutes of arc, where Jupiter will station in February 2025. I guess 1117, even less than that. So this shows also future music, that this chart is just starting to really grow, and this moment will gain momentum, and that is exactly what these charts are, which I'm showing you, pretty much all of them. They are ignition points, they are landmarks, they're moments when energies are definitely shifting in a new direction. So let me now show you this chart, and this is Robert Kennedy's, RFK's Jr.'s birth chart. Now there's no time of birth officially on the internet. There are several astrologers who have come up with different times of day to for his birth to have taken place. I did my own calculations and rectifications, and what I will show you is my personal take on it, naturally, but I will also show you remarkable synchronicities which indicate that this is really matching what really is his time of birth, which would be 5:44 a.m. Eastern Time. So first of all, what really stands out is the last degree of Sag rising. He is a Capricorn sun, actually a really big stellium on Capricorn here in the first house. So first of all, yes, it's a last degree rising, very similar to Mr. Trump, who has 2955 Leo. So this in itself is shows a deep resonance with these two men. They are definitely all coming from different ends of the spectrum, but they are ready to listen to each other and meet, as we have seen just the other day, when just hours after RFK had delivered his historic speech, where he explained why he chose to go that route despite of hurting his closest friends, his family, his children, who definitely have difficulties with his move. But he does this for a greater good, and that's exactly what the hexagram 42, which I read you before, is all about. It's spirit lowering itself, serving to give, to allow for that good outcome. Now, what is really powerful is that big stellium is intercepted in his first house. This explains a lot, because if you know his biography a little bit, he has been a loud voice, but nobody really listened to him. He's ridiculed, he's joked about by all the naturally the powers to be, which you know. But what stands out really in this chart is the exact 90-degree angle of Chiron with midheaven, and on the other side is, who else? HYGIEA. So you see where I'm getting to. We had to actually have tomorrow, to be exact, the heliocentric HYGIEA Chiron conjunction, which is about that, which I wrote here. It is HYGIEA's objectives are health and well-being, merging with Chiron's spiritual objective, his ability to diagnose what's out of alignment and bring healing to the root of the problem. That is this year's signature in general. Chiron is really the planet which over and again shows in prominent positions, and here we have it in RFK Jr.'s chart. Actually, as a conjunction, we have here a big conjunction: Chiron, Venus, the North Node, the Sun, and Mercury. So this is really his mission. That's why he's here. He understands is his life's purpose, to bring healing, and that's what he actually said just the other day when he was speaking at the Trump rally. I have shared this on my Facebook, and I will share the link also on my below this video. Let me just okay, one sec. Okay, here we go. So RFK Jr. said, I watched these sick kids, these damaged kids in that generation. Almost all of them are damaged, and nobody in power seemed to care or even notice. For 19 years I prayed every morning that God would put me in a position to end this calamity. The chronic disease crisis was one of the primary reasons for my running for president, along with ending censorship in the Ukraine war. It's the reason I've made the heart-wrenching decision to suspend my campaign and to support President Trump. This decision is agonizing for me because of the difficulties it causes my wife and my children and my friends. But I have the certainty that this is what I've meant to do. And that certainty gives me internal peace, even in storms. So that's really where you see where this man is coming from. He's very, very sincere in his actions. He wants the best for the American nation, and naturally, as I say, he is really living as good as he can, keeping up to the legacy of his ancestors, of JFK and RFK, who both were having that same burning heart's desire to make the nation into something better, to give the people back the dignity and the freedom they deserved, to remove all these agencies who were in the way and trying to enslave people and all of that. So this is in his birth signature, and together with Venus and the North Node, this is really his calling. And it is super interesting that he steps out of the shadow, so to say, right as we have this big alignment of Chiron and Hygeia. Now, let me just take you here a little bit of a ride, as I always do. We will eventually get back to this chart because there's so much more in it, but okay, I did the midpoint chart between Donald Trump and his birth chart, JFK Jr.'s chart, and look at that. I mean, you can't make things up. This is just meant to be that way. In their shared chart, which is the midpoint between their two births, which is April 1st, 1950, there's a very tight Chiron and Hygeia conjunction, Hygeia-Chiron conjunction, together with Ceres, even more so, Ceres, which is the earth goddess, which is nourishing principle, and in Sagittarius, in the sign where RFK's ascendant is his rising sign. And he definitely has that drive, that jovial persona of not giving up, of fighting and being very, very committed to his mission, has been for many, many years. Interesting, Jupiter here and Venus naturally together, a beautiful conjunction here in the 10th house. And you might remember this is where the full moon was, just on the 19th, 27:15 actually. Again, shows you there's no accidents in reality, in how things manifest on this planet. Everything is in sync with the greater geometry of the celestial spheres. And also that's where the American nation's moon is, 27:11 or 12. Amazing. It's just unbelievable. So this is really the turning point in history. That has been pretty much what I saw coming, that this would be a wonderful, wonderful change in frequency, which would open the doors for some true magic to happen, not just in America, but as we know, all over the planet eventually. This is just the nation which is blazing the trail. So the birthday I'm using for RFK Jr. and the birth time for Trump, which is pretty much confirmed, publicly known. If we use those two times, then you get a midpoint ascendant of 25:16 in Taurus. Now look at that. That will be the heliocentric square of Jupiter and Saturn in January 2025. So again, the heliocentric is the music. That is the basic principle of how these planets' energies are coming down towards us, and that is yet to come, naturally, to be exact, in January 2025. But what stands out is 2522 in Taurus is the rising sign here in this global chart, which means it really resonates strongly with these two men being in the lead, leading the world towards a new reality. Basically, it is that very powerful Jupiter-Saturn cycle, I want to repeat that, which started on December 20th, 2020 at 0 degrees Aquarius, and hereby January 27th, Saturn has moved on to 20 degrees 39 Pisces and Jupiter 2039 in Gemini. which happens to be the placement of Mars in the American chart, 21 something. So there's again multiple resonances here, which I don't really have the time, don't want to make this video too long, but you can always take screenshots and look at these charts afterwards and get deeper into them. And now let's roll back a little bit, because I want to show you how this energy built from that 19th of August onward. So this was the new Mercury cycle being ignited with the 25th degree of Cancer rising, which actually is a really beautiful Sabian symbol. Let me read it for you. A willful man is overshadowed by a descent of superior power. Again, that is spirit coming through. The response of spiritual forces to the integration of personality through positive, willful endeavors. We are dealing here with a man who uses his will and positive imagination in facing his life's problems. To him comes a Pentecostal descent of power. He receives the mantle of power, the grace, baraka in Sufi philosophy, or the providential assistance, which can make him a true leader in his culture. And the keyword is endowment. So this chart also shows that same global pattern of a new energy coming in, truly helping to shift into the right direction here. And this is Mercury's station coming up on the 28th, when Mercury will turn direct. And look what we have here, the 25th degree of Cancer now at the root. Very often we will see this, as I have shown you multiple times, these repetition of degrees showing up in different angles of various charts, which are linking into each other, which are helping each other to make things real, three-dimensional, multi-dimensional. Again, the 2333 Taurus rising this time, still very close to the heliocentric Jupiter-Saturn square coming up, which already resonates. It's already here. I mean, that's the wonderful thing about astrology. There's an anticipation going on. Whatever future aspects and alignments there are, they already are there. And yes, they have not yet manifested, but they are on their way. They are pulling us towards manifestation, towards getting real. That's literally how I see the time as such working. We are pulled by what is to come, and we are also nourished and helped by what has been. We are standing on the shoulders of our ancestors naturally. That is a very obvious observation, I guess. But the same is true for the future. The future is already there in resonance. It's just has not fully arrived yet in this reality. So yes, this is the Mercury station chart a few days away. Very interesting here also the 644 Cancer moon in this chart. Mercury station. Let's go back to Junior's chart, 634 Cancer. See, this is just shows how things happen at the right time, in the right moment, when they are ready. And sometimes we have to be patient, wait for that powerful right moment when things all of a sudden all are falling in place with one another. which would not have been possible beforehand. So this is also the United States, the American chart's Jupiter at 556 in Cancer. Yet another indication that we are definitely moving in the right direction here. Okay, now let's look at a few more charts, which are amazingly just kind of more enforcing what I already said. So this is now heliocentric Chiron, just the day prior of meeting up with HYGIEA, and this is the geocentric chart. Actually, I'm having here, let me just change it quickly to heliocentric, because it is a heliocentric chart, even though the geocentric is important too. That's how we perceive this moment when it happens here on planet Earth. So let's see. Okay, this takes a little while to shift. My computer is a little slow, so just let's have a sip of tea here. While we're still on the geocentric picture, it will change in a minute. You see the moon is here by the time at 15 degrees in Cancer, in Taurus, sorry. And okay, it's thinking. Yes, my computer is a little slow. But again, what I really want to emphasize is the 25th degree of Cancer again. That endowment from spirit. We get real help now from all sides. We have suffered enough, you could say. Here you see it, that is Chiron 2045 exactly. HYGIEA still a little bit behind, having to pull up to meet, which would be the chart I just showed you prior here. I guess this one was it, right? The first one. 26 at 6:18 a.m. 25th at 1:36 a.m. So a little bit more than 24 hours prior. Chiron changed into hexagram 42, and I have it open here somewhere. Let me see if I guess that's the one, right? So this is the sentence I read you already. This is the powerful hexagram 42, which really is I would say the culmination of Aries energy in many ways. That's where the harvest comes in, where we are starting to really reap the investments we have made before in that sign, going through quite a difficult build-up. You know, just what we came out of was hexagram 51, which is thunder above and thunder below, which really shakes things up, and is the storm, is the shock of waking up, of realizing where we are at, and now we are able to build on top of that and take real advantage, move in the right direction, take it and run. Now, in heliocentric, as you know, all planets move always forward. That is really the one particular thing about the heliocentric geometry versus geocentric geometry. Because of Earth's own motion, sometimes we are faster than these outer planets in relativity. That means for that reason they appear to move backwards, and that is causing all these retrogrades. In heliocentric we do not have that. Again, want to emphasize that same geometry here with the Mercury cycle, which has just started. You see, it's pretty amazing. So it is the main frequency now in the lead, in the collective focus, is that Chiron and HYGIEA energy. There's really some magic happened here, you could say. So yes, I wanted to say where did I write it down? Here. So heliocentric Chiron is in this hexagram 42 for the next 19 months into March 20th, 2026. And then, you remember this chart here I showed you before had the geocentric perspective. The moon will be at 15 degrees in Taurus, and tomorrow when HYGIEA pulls up to that degree as well, 2045, this degree is in midheaven. So again, as a resonance here. There's another degree which I now want to emphasize, which is that 27th degree of Leo. And HYGIEA, by the way, health, well-being in that 42 hexagram will be there for the till October the 3rd. So that is a good time. Naturally, HYGIEA moves much faster. HYGIEA moves about I guess about 4 to 5 years it takes for a full round through the 12 signs. Anyway, so also in other words, shows you the specialness of this alignment happens only roughly every, I would say, 6 years, 6 to 7 years, somewhere in that these two meet with one another, start a whole new cycle, mutual cycle. So you see 27th degree of Leo here rising, and if we go back to this chart here, that is the 27th degree of Leo. That's where Mercury started a new synodic cycle. Again, it totally falls in place, supporting each other, enlarging each other. It's a synergy which you see here happening. And if we go to the next chart, which is happening also tomorrow, Monday, heliocentric Mercury will enter Aries. Always a big beginning too, as Mercury, we're just focusing on Mercury. Mercury, as you know, is all about perception. And us using our 5 or 6 or 7 senses and making sense of reality, putting a pattern over reality, being able to compare and also naturally this is which causes problems too, because then we have wonderful memories and great expectations. You know, when time comes in, then we lose track of what is right now in front of us. That is the downside to that ability to compare and to weigh things against each other. So we have to make use of that facility of our ability to discern and see and understand patterns, but not to get stuck in it, to rise above it and see it as the play of polarities. Mercury, after all, in the tarot deck is the card of the magician. So it is also showing us that it really, we have the power to change the way we think about things, the way we look at things. That's all included. Mercury is an amazing planet. It's also called the sun's satellite, the sun being the being where we are centered within, and Mercury is racing around the Sun, so giving us a different perspectives of beingness in that sense. So Mercury entering Aries naturally is a big beginning. Again, this is a 4-month period, 88 days roughly, which is actually a little less, 88 days in heliocentric. That's how long it takes Mercury to move around the Sun. So around 3 months it takes for Mercury to get back to this point, but it's an ignition point. It's the spring moment of opening into that expansiveness of thinking in new ways. That's basically what Aries is. Anyway, 27th degree of Leo, that's why I'm showing you this chart. You see, it's all chiming into the same direction. Now a few more bonus charts here I have here for you. I'm going back to Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s, Robert Francis Kennedy Jr. actually is his full name. Think of Saint Francis. He definitely has that aura of someone who is truly here to serve. A wonderful, wonderful human being. So this is the secondary progressions outside for just a couple days ago, when he made this big turn around, something nobody really had seen coming. And I just want to show you how this shows in his secondary progressions. The secondary progress moon by then was 24/11 in Capricorn. You see that is right here on his north node, having traveled over Chiron in the past months, and Venus, he has really gone deep within himself. This has taken him quite some time to get to inner clarity. Definitely shows this here. Also Venus here in progression, perfectly on his 4th house cusp. I'm pretty positive about my rectification of his birth time. This makes so much sense. This is really that's readiness to take all the blame, all the charge of all these millions of people who wanted to see him as the president, and now he does that. He runs to the opposite camp and bonds with them. Pretty much a slap into people's face. Many people will really have to go through some soul searching to come to terms with what has just happened. But I'm sure people are intelligent enough, if they really go past the propaganda, that they will finally come to what matters and what really is resonating with the truth, using their discernment. All of that. Mercury is again the planet, and there's all the signs that we have that additional light which is brought into this dimension for people to really start seeing that the scales fall off their eyes and such. So there's a few more really interesting details in these secondary progressions. I think this is a big one too. You see, RFK Jr.'s progressed sun is at 748 in Aries, and that's where the north node is right now. Let me just go to this chart here. Yes, that's the one. That's the Venus-Mars square just prior to his presentation, his landmark speech, and which was deeply moving. I suggest and I recommend you go and really listen to it. It's amazing. It's really shows you the depth of this human being's heart, how much he is here really to serve and to help. And that's why he has chosen that difficult path, truly in resonance with this Chiron in his birth chart. Anyway, the North Node at present is at 704 in Aries, and again you see that's where his progressed Sun is right now. Here, pretty much on top of Aries, natal Aries. Aries is also that same frequency of the truth and nothing but the truth. We are ready to go through difficulties, we're ready to go even through a war. That's why what Aries, the goddess, it's a feminine force, threw in the apple of discord onto the table of the gods to really bring their differences into the open, and before they are in the open and truly recognize that we are standing on different sides and on certain positions, then we have to start working towards middle ground and integration. That's what Aries is standing for. The progressed black moon here approaching midheaven. Now this is a slow motion, this is only something like 9 minutes of arc per year, but it shows that he is definitely going through some difficult terrain for a few years. He will be fired at from all sides. He knows that, he expects that. I mean, he has already the black moon here up in his 9th house. He's, regardless of all the opposition and of all the dirt which is thrown his way, this is his mission. The 9th house, that is also resonating with his Sag rising. The 9th house is super important. He is a spiritual warrior, there's no question in that. Again, that T-square between Chiron and HYGIEA is really pretty much his most exact structure in his chart according to the time of birth I have found. And I did rectify his chart based on the traumatic time in his youth when his father was murdered. That, and I'm actually really experienced in finding out birth times in the reverse through events, so that's kind of my specialty. For those of you who are interested, I'm offering that service. Just send me an email or leave a message under the video. I'm happy to serve on that too. Many of my clients have really been very much appreciating that. It's something which I guess many astrologers are trying to do it. I have my own techniques. Anyway, just throwing this in here too. But let's keep going here. I have a few more charts. 2955 is this rising sign here in Sag, in the mutual signs, and this was the aspect which really was bringing this Jupiter-Saturn energy down into the biological, physical, tangible realm of reality. I mentioned in my earlier video, just say it once more, we had that waxing square of Jupiter and Saturn, then we had the waxing square of Mars and Saturn, and then on the 23rd, yes, 2 days ago, or 22nd, it was in Phoenix still, we had the waxing square of Venus 90 degrees ahead of Mars. And again, see the 22 degrees, 2208. If we go back to RFK's chart, you see the 22 degrees yes mark here in Aries. So that's a perfect sextile, perfect semi-sextile with Mars, with Venus here up in the 9th house then. Mars in the 6th house here, close to his natal Jupiter, which you see it's actually he just has a Jupiter return too. I didn't even go there yet, but that's yet another indication that he just started a whole new 12-year Jupiter cycle, which is probably, I mean, we just could quickly do that. That's a small thing. I'm just curious if you have the patience to bear with me and just learn something how that's done. It's very easy with this program. We just go to Robert Kennedy, then we say let's choose a place, let's choose, well, let's choose Washington DC. I guess that's the best place, because and this will definitely be happening for him, that he will be able to get his voice heard. So Washington is definitely a good place to see him residing at in the next years to come. So we use this, and then we say advanced and ingress, and we go to natal positions, Jupiter, and then we say just OK, and then you see there will be 3 direct hits. That means he has a triple return, and the first one, how could it be, was on the 19th. And yeah, pretty remarkable. Let me just pull it up here in big. Yeah, it's uncanny. I mean, this is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s first of 3 Jupiter returns, and that's exactly what he has really triggered, an avalanche of critique, of poison coming his way. He is ready to embrace all that, the black moon and the south node. I mean, this is something we all feel right now. We are really having to face all the dark shadows coming at us. I guess it's a time of initiation in a very big way. Actually, anyway, let's keep on track. Also the 27th degree of Leo here again. Naturally, this was just on that same day, all on that same day, and the North Node right here at the 10th house cusp makes so much sense, all in service of the public, with Chiron right overhead, 22, 23 degrees. You see it again, the 22, 23 degrees. It totally links into his birth chart with the 22 Aries midnight point. Anyway, just this is a little bonus you're getting here. So okay, another quick one. Saturn changing into hexagram 63, another really big change coming up tomorrow, which will be going on into February 2023. Let me see, yes, into okay, I didn't write this down, but I quickly want to tell you, this is a long-term event again. So naturally you see Saturn by retrogression has just crossed that 17 degree mark. It will station turning back to direct motion. Okay, bear with me. On November the 15th at 12 degrees and 40 minutes. Now this is still well within that 5 degree 37 and 30 seconds territory hexagram 63 has, and then it moves forward again and will come to the 17 degree mark. Yes, by end of January the 28th it will be. So this is a multi-month energy shift for Saturn, and 63 is a super interesting one. It's kind of the heart, I would say, of Pisces, which is called after completion. This is when everything comes to perfection. When there's the perfect order. Fire is below and water is above, which is the energy of the fire warming up the water. It's the perfect balance. It's an well, a perfect balance is maybe not rightly said. It's a very fragile balance in a way. But it is when things are as good as they can be, in a way, you could say, and that's where we are getting. The next 5-6 months will, this shows on so many levels, will be bringing breakthrough we have long been waiting for. Again, the 29th degree, I guess the 30th degree of the mutable signs. Again, you see, kind of really showing he's the man of the hour with his 29:55 Sag rising. Okay, one more little bonus just to solidify why I'm so strongly believe this time I chose for his birth is the correct one. This was when he announced his candidacy in April 19th, 2023, 10 a.m. Boston, Massachusetts, and the moon 21:38 Aries, Jupiter 23:36 Aries, a tight conjunction, actually a blind conjunction, and naturally Chiron not far away either. But as you can see here, is the overlay. That is right at his IC, at his midnight point. The moon 21:22 is his fourth house cusp, 23 is the position of Jupiter. Very much making sense that he would step out into the public and really share his intention. Another one, perfect hit, is Venus on that day. Yes, it is again in his general mode of service. Remember, he has a natal Venus Chiron conjunction, so this is really showing that he's really here to help his human beings to find healing. That is his heart's call, and this Venus is then carrying that same energy on his part of fortune. I mean, you can't make these things up. It's dead on exact. You see 942. Again, there's many more things hiding in this chart, but that's just the two I really wanted to bring across. So anyway, thank you, RFK Jr. We are rooting for you. We are hoping that you will be able to turn around the tide, because you are truly coming from the opposite side of the spectrum and showing all these millions of people that yes, this other guy with the red hair is maybe not as bad as it was told for that many years. Anyway, I'll leave it at that and wish you a wonderful week to come. Really enjoy, celebrate, even though it's a difficult time still to go through. But if we keep our focus on what's to come, really allow us to be pulled by the future, by the wonderful future which is guaranteed at this point. It's just a matter of making it from here to there unscathed. Thank you for being here. Please give it a like, share it, and subscribe. And if you wish, you can support me. There is links underneath where you can do that. It's very appreciated. Love you all. Bye bye.